All right, everyone, welcome. So we are going to begin working in our final project. Let's get started. All right, so first thing I, of course, need to do is create a sheet, right? My workflow is always going to be when I start doing annotation, I create a sheet and then place views. And once those views are placed, then I begin to kind of focus my work both on the sheet and then working in the active views while they're on the sheet. And of course, the reason I do that is it helps give me perspective about how large my view scales are and how my text shows up. It really helps me judge clarity. All right, so in my file, I'm going to create this new sheet, accept my standard title block, click OK. And I'm going to rename this sheet when it comes up as A101 for the number and plan views for the name. Okay, so I have a drawing sheet. So our first task is that we want to put some general notes on this sheet. And I am not going to put the notes into paper space here. Notice that if I wanted to, my text command is available and I could put notes in directly on paper space here. It's not a common practice out in industry. So one set of notes called general notes, or it can be commonly found in every single sheet for instance, architectural section of a drawing set, maybe a different set of general notes on every sheet for structural, etc., etc. Which means that we want to place these notes on multiple sheets. We don't need to in this project, but we're going to go through that workflow now. So instead of creating a, for instance, drafting view and placing notes on our drafting view, we're going to create a legend. And what is unique about a legend inside of Revit is ultimately is that it's exactly like a drafting view, except it can be placed on multiple sheets. So I'm going to click here and right click and say I want a new legend. And I'm always, when I create legends, I always choose a scale of 12 inch equals a foot, kind of typically because all of the legends that I use tend to be text based. If I were actually doing a drawing, I may want to create a scale how I want it to be on the final sheet, but text based, I'm always going to choose 12 inches equals a foot, which of course is full scale. I do that, my legend is activated. And to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a border and put my text inside that border. And I've placed a border for you to use on Blackboard. And so I'm going to insert that border that I placed on Blackboard here. I'll use the insert command, load family, and navigate, of course, to my flash drive. And you'll be navigating to wherever you've stored your downloaded file. And it's this family called boxnote.rfa. .rfa is simply designates that it's a family. And since I'm here, I'm going to load this note line family as well. We're going to use that in this same video. So you want to load both of those into your file. So I'm going to click OK or open. And of course, I'll get no feedback, but those families will be added into my project down under here in the project browser under families. So I can place these particular families. I believe the box note is a detail component. So I'm going to click Detail Component and see what I have available. It's not there. So how about symbol? And let's see, yeah, there it is. Okay, so let's cover that one more time. So both of these families are Revit families, but uniquely they're considered a symbol, and we haven't used this too much. And this symbol is on the Annotate tab and way off to the right. If you happen to browse through there, you can see a north arrow symbol and a couple other symbols as well. So it's a symbol, and then my family option shows up and it's ready to place. And of course I'm going to zoom in a little bit and then just click it into place anywhere, as there is no relevant origin in this legend. Once it's placed, I'm going to hit escape a couple times, I guess, to get out of that command. And I have a note box. So I'm going to click in here and demonstrate that in this note box there are some properties, right? So it's I'm going to call it a flexible family. So on the screen there's a question mark, and that question mark is the heading. So I'm going to type in that I want my heading to be General Notes, and notice that I have a right gap, a left gap, a box width, and a box height. These are adjustable once it's on my drawing sheet, and I can decide how wide I want this box to be and how tall I want it to be depending on how many notes are inside. So having a standardized width for an entire project helps add clarity and consistency to a drawing. So this outline of this box tends to give us some clarity and consistency that we don't have to think about. If we just use the box and it has a given width for our project, it should be fine. So notice my heading didn't go in, so let me type that in one more time and make sure that I hit enter, or the return key, and it finally shows up. So a lot of these families, this is like a custom family that an architect built. I inherited it. A lot of these custom built families behave well and sometimes a little bit quirky. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is begin to put some notes in here, and we'll talk through that topic just a little bit. What I am going to do is go back to the Annotate tab and place another symbol. And when I get to that, I am going to choose a different symbol, and I'm going to scroll. Notice I have a ton in my file. I doubt you have so many in yours. So I'm going to scroll down till I get to the ends, as in Nancy, or as in note line, and there is a note line component or symbol. So now it's up here and I'm ready to place that component, and I'm just going to click kind of in the upper left somewhere. Right, and all I get is 2 question marks. So the first question mark is a note number, and the second question mark can be the note itself. So the once this family is placed, and I'm going to hit escape 3 times again, and looks like it disappeared. Yeah, it did. So back to symbol, place 1, and now I'm going to click into the first box and enter 1 period. So now that there's actually text in there, it won't disappear. Okay, so what's the value of doing this other than just entering text? Notes typically get repeated in multiple places. So by having this note block, 2 things happen. One is I can reuse it really easily, and the other one is that as I select this thing and click into the second text box, I can simply start entering text. And when I want to adjust my notes and organize them vertically, I simply grab the grip and I can move it from place to place. So here's what happens. It's really common inside a project to be adding notes, and there is a precedence of notes. So for instance, I may have 10 notes and an architect is going to come down and highlight that, hey, I need a new note 3. Which means I have to renumber and reorient all those notes. And this family simply provides an opportunity to move text and renumber notes in a really easy way. So this is a tool that I use when I'm doing consulting out there. Okay, so I'm going to now navigate back to the drawing sheet, and I'm going to expand the Legends category, and I can see that I have Legend 1, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename it, right? So it's important for me to always know what each object is over here in my project browser. And I always want to keep my organization so that I'm renaming and organizing as I go and not later, because as projects get complicated, then the organization gets difficult. So I'm now going to drag this onto the drawing sheet. It comes over, I'll click it into place, and I'm going to move it a little bit further left so that it's lined up kind of on my title block. In other words, I'm not taking up more space than I need. And we're going to close the session here, and then in the next session we'll kind of finish this general note block up. Hope this is helpful, and we'll see you then.